Alam Pangulangayate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadad Shiva Sri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate. We are reading from the 10th canto, chapter 25, text 15. Aparitu ati ubanam bharsham ati bhatam shilamayam svajuge vihate Asmabhi Indraha Nashaya Bharshati Apartu Adhubanam Varsham Ativatam Shilamayam Sayage Vihate Smabhir Indro Nashaya Varshati Apartvadyau Banam Varsham Apartvadyam Ativatam Shilamayam Swayagye Vihate Smabhir Indro Nashaya Varshati Apartvadyubanam Bharsham Utivatam Shilamayam Shayage Vihate Smabhir Indro Nashaya Bharshati Tadrubanam Varsham Ativatam Shilamayam Indranashaya Varshati Varsham Yuge Vyate Smabhir Avartyate Ubanam Varsham Ativatam Lilamayam Smabhir Ladies, Patyutyatpubanam Varsham Divatam Shilamayam Word meanings. Aparitu, out of season. Ati ulbanam, unusually fierce. Varsham, rain. Atibhatam, accompanied by great wind. Shila mayam, full of hailstones. You know what hailstones are? It's pieces of ice, like the size of a tennis ball. You don't have those in Bombay, but they fall, and they make dents in cars. They fall in cars. Fall on other things. Sometimes they ruin the roof of a house. Swayagye, his sacrifice. Vihate, having been stopped. Asmadbhi, by ourselves. Indraha, King Indra. Nashaya, for destruction. Barshiti is raining. Translation: Sri Krishna said to himself, because we have stopped his sacrifice, Indra has caused this unusually fierce, unseasonable rain, together with terrible winds and hail. So there's no purport. I'll read text 16, and text 17 has a purport. Text 16, Tatra Pratividhim Samyag, Pratividhim Samyag, Atma Yogena Sadhaye, Lokesha Maninam Modhyad Tanishe Shri Madam Tamaha. Translation: by my mystic power, I will completely counteract this disturbance caused by Indra. Demigods like Indra are proud of their opulence, and out of foolishness, they falsely consider themselves the Lord of the universe. I will now destroy such ignorance. Text 17. Nahi sad bhuva yuptanam suranam isha vishamyaha mato satam mana bangaha prashamaryo pakalpate. Get a little closer. They like it back there. Then that way they don't have to do what I say. If you sit here, then I can see you. Translation: since the demigods are endowed with the mode of goodness, the false pride of considering oneself the Lord should certainly not affect them. When I break the false prestige of those bereft of goodness, my purpose is to bring them relief. Purport: the demigods are supposed to be sadbhava yukta, endowed with spiritual existence, since they are deputed servants of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 24, it is said, who knows what it is said? Brahmarpanam brahmahavir. Brahmagnao. Brahmana kutam. Brahmaiva tena. Kantavyam brahmakarma samadhina. That which is duly offered to the Lord becomes spiritualized. The demigods engage in the devotional service of the Lord by managing various departments of cosmic administration. Therefore, as demigods or as servants of the Lord, their existence is pure, sadbhava. When the demigods fail to live up to the high position given them by the Lord and deviate from proper behavior, they are not acting as demigods, but rather as conditioned souls. Mana. Who knows what mana means? Pride. Amanina amanadena. Mana, or false prestige, is certainly an anxiety-ridden burden for the conditioned soul. A falsely proud person is not truly peaceful or satisfied, because his understanding of himself is false and inflated. When a servant of the Lord becomes asat or irreligious, the Lord saves him from impiety by breaking the false prestige that has led him to be offensive or sinful, as stated by the Lord himself, Yasyaham anugranami harishe taddanam shanai. I give my blessings to a person by taking away his so-called opulence. Of course, the advanced stage of devotional service to the Lord, as described by Rupa Goswami, is yukta bhairagya, utilizing the opulence of the world to execute the Lord's mission. Obviously, the things of this world can be used wonderfully to spread the glories of God and to create a godly society, and a more advanced devotee will not be seduced by material paraphernalia, but will dutifully and honestly engage it solely for the pleasure of the Lord. In this particular case, Lord Indra forgot that he was a humble servant of God, and Lord Krishna therefore arranged to bring the bewildered demigod to his senses. So, what this verse clearly explains is that Krishna does not like it when his devotees become proud. And if a devotee becomes proud, Krishna dislikes it so much that he will do something to break the pride. It's interesting that even conditioned souls don't like to be with proud people. Do you like to be with proud people? They make you feel good? They do? No, they don't. So, just as we are little image reflections of Krishna, we don't even like to be with proud people. And Krishna doesn't like it at all. Krishna likes when his devotees exhibit humility. Krishna likes it when his devotees act according to Vaishnava etiquette. But then you say, Prabhu, I'm proud. Maybe you're proud, but that's not an excuse to act like you're proud. The process of devotional service means you act as if you were pure, even if you're not pure. Why do we do that? Because by acting as if we're pure, it changes the consciousness. Therefore, it is said, sometimes it's easier to change your consciousness by changing your action. We try to change our consciousness and then change our action, right? But sometimes it's easier to change your action, and your action will change your consciousness. You understand? You confused now? Anyway, I'll give an example. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Patanjali says that if you become envious of someone, what you should do is become their well-wisher. And you say, how can you become a well-wisher of someone you're envious of? Or why would you become a well-wisher if you're envious? If you're envious, you try to outdo them. He's saying, it is one thing to be envious. We're conditioned souls, it will happen. But don't act on the envy. There's a difference, right? Not only should we not act on the envy, but Patanjali here says, shift it around and become a well-wisher, which is a complete opposite of envy, isn't it? It couldn't be anything greater, a greater difference from envy. There couldn't be anything greater than becoming a well-wisher. And then you say, but Prabhu, I don't feel like becoming a well-wisher. So what does that mean? Just remain envious? Is that your proposal? Is that a good idea? I'm envious and I don't feel like becoming a well-wisher. No, the injunction is you act. That's your sadhana. You act as the well-wisher of the person you're envious. I don't feel like serving this devotee, but you serve him. I don't feel like appreciating this devotee, but you appreciate. Why? Because when you do that, it changes your consciousness. You may not be able to get rid of that envy any other way than serving. So sometimes it's easier to change the way you think by changing your action. Rather, it is to change your thinking in order to change an action. Does that make sense? So it's important. Everything in Krishna consciousness, until we reach the stage of ruchi at least, is very much a practice. So you come to Krishna consciousness, and you're given japa beads, you're a new bhakta, and then you're told you should chant in a humble state of mind. And you tell your bhakta leader, but I'm not humble. I was the top student in my school. I got all the prizes. Out of 10 billion people in the universe, I'm one of the smartest. Or 10 billion people. There's not 10 billion on the planet. But out of a billion people in India, I'm one of the smartest. And you want me to chant more humble than a blade of grass? Forget it. That's going to take years. Maybe, after I've been a devotee for 50 years, then I'll become humble. No. You will not become humble unless you act humble. Because if you don't act humble, you can't chant properly. If you don't chant properly, you won't become humble. Does that make sense? So right now, you may be number one, but you have to act humbly. And by acting humbly, you can chant the holy name, and then you can actually become humble. So we should never say, this is artificial, I can't do it. You should never say that, because that's the very thing you need to do. The very thing you say you can't do is probably the thing you need to do the most, isn't it? Oh, Prabhu, I can't be humble. That means that's the thing you need to do the most. The thing you resist doing the most is always the thing you need to do the most. Right? We can please Krishna by humility. We can't please Krishna by being proud. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like it personally in terms of rasa, he doesn't like it. And he doesn't like it in terms of your spiritual or our spiritual advancement. So he comes and does something. And you think, but Krishna's not here. He's there with Indra. He's not going to do anything to me. Yes, he will. There's a nice story. One of devotee told me the story that in Ukraine, for so many years, he was the number one book distributor. So when you're the number one book distributor, in some temples, they give you Mahaprasadam. And they give you a lot of glorification. So then he said, I began becoming proud that I was number one. Every year I'm the best book distributor. He said, and when I became proud, I went out on the street and nobody would take a book. I couldn't sell one book. So that's what Krishna does. When we become proud, then Krishna says, okay, no Shakti for you. Shakti's finished. Now you understand where your Shakti comes from. One time, the demigods had won a battle, and they fought so well, they were being praised, and they became proud. So Krishna didn't like it, so he did the same thing that he did with Indra. He showed up, but they didn't know who he was. And so they welcomed him. And the wives of the demigods, I forget who it was, maybe Aditi, I forget. She said, go greet him, find out who he is. So Agni went. So Agni had just won the battle, he's very proud. Agni comes, he introduces himself. He said, I am Agni. I can destroy the universe. I can burn everything. Krishna says, oh, I have this little piece of straw here. Since you're so powerful, could you burn this? Agni says, of course, I'm Agni. I can burn it. He tried to burn it. He couldn't burn it. Trying. So he went back to the other demigods. They said, who is that person? I said, I don't know who he is, but he's not ordinary. He said, Vayu, you go. Vayu went. He introduced himself to Krishna. Of course, he didn't know he was Krishna. Who are you? He said, I'm Vayu. I can knock over buildings. I can pull mountains out of the earth. I can destroy the universe. I am Vayu. Oh, Krishna said, interesting. I have this little piece of straw. You think you could move it? He couldn't move it. So then the wife of the demigod said, that was Krishna. Because you become proud, he came to teach you that your power has come from him and he can pull it away at any time. So another thing we learn from this story is, how do we get our power? We get our power when we think we don't have power. Then Krishna can give us power because we won't use it. Very interesting story my godbrother told me. One devotee was praying to Prabhupada for mercy, and Prabhupada said, you're too immature, or you're not advanced enough to be able to handle Krishna's mercy. So what did he mean by that? Really interesting. I don't know if I never heard this before. So this devotee explained that Prabhupada said that if you get Krishna's mercy, you become powerful. You have Shakti. You become attractive to people. You can speak well. Now you have Krishna's mercy. Your words are like nectar. Everyone bows down to you. Everyone says, you're a great devotee. You speak so nicely. You chant so nicely. You serve so nicely. Because now you have Krishna's mercy. So now you're special. And then, if you're not advanced, all that goes to your head and you fall down. So Prabhupada said, you're not ready enough for Krishna's. You can't handle Krishna's mercy. A little bit you can handle, but you can't handle a lot. Isn't that interesting? So Krishna will not give us generally too much mercy that we can't handle, but sometimes he gives us mercy and then it goes to our head. But if we remain humble, then he can give us more and more, and we can do more and more wonderful things. Right? So how does the devotee think? The devotee thinks, I am disqualified, I have no qualification. I am not qualified for bhakti. That's the thinking of a devotee. And that's the devotee that Krishna empowers. When you feel that you have absolutely no qualification for serving Prabhupada or serving your Guru, when you feel you have no qualification for doing anything, at that point you become the perfect receptacle for Krishna's mercy, because now Krishna knows, I can trust you. Because you know you're not qualified. Therefore I can trust you. And Krishna will send you so many things because he can trust you. But if Krishna cannot trust you, then he won't send, but he'll take away. Prabhupada wrote me a very interesting letter. And he said, I was a temple president, and he said, you should think, if you want to be successful, you should think you are not qualified to run the temple. And not only that, he said, you should think that you have no qualification to run it, and if Krishna doesn't give you qualification, everyone will leave the temple. In other words, the temple will fall apart. So that's how you should think. That Krishna, I'm not qualified. If you don't give me the qualification, you don't give me the intelligence, everything I do will fail. I won't be able to succeed. To that devotee, Krishna will empower, and Krishna will send all facility. That's the secret. So, pride is difficult to overcome. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that the symptom of love is humility. That's the jewel. I think the way it describes it is the jewel of prema is humility. And Bhaktivedanta Thakur in the Jaiva Dharma has given a definition of humility. And he says that I don't want, on my account, to cause harm to anyone. That I'm not that important, that for myself I should cause anyone any trouble. Just like when we become intolerant, when we complain, that's a lack of humility, because it's giving importance to myself. I am so important, I don't deserve to have to do this or do that, and therefore I complain. I was not treated properly, so I complain. Right? That's a lack of humility. That's why in the second verse there's tolerance and humility to go together, because tolerance is the essence of humility. When we complain, any of you complain? Ever complain? Nobody here complains? Only in America? We all complain all the time. So we should understand that is a symptom of pride. I'm so important that I'm going to complain about things. Oh, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. They did this wrong, they did that wrong. My taxi driver got lost. Whatever. Somebody burnt the sabji. I mean, there's so many things. We're in the material world. There's a lot of things to complain about here, aren't there? I mean, this is a good place to be if you like complaining, because you can have unlimited lists of things to complain about. Right? But we should understand tolerance to be the essence of humility. So Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, I'm not that important that I should complain. And I'm not that important that I cause distress for anybody. Out of my way. Get out of my way. You're bothering. You're in my way. Move aside. I'm not that important that I want to cause anyone distress. So that's what Krishna likes. He likes the devotees like that. Now, I believe in the Brihat Naradiya Purana, it talks about how difficult it is to become free from pride. And it says something very interesting. It says that when a sadhu becomes renounced, detached from everything, he has a problem becoming detached from pride. Why is that? Because he becomes proud of his renunciation. Just see how renounced I am. So, the witch of pride sneaks in the back door. He's renounced everything, and then he becomes proud of his renunciation. Is that amazing? Where does it end? Then it says that even one becomes free from the desire to be honored. Still, if somebody honors him, he likes it, he enjoys it. Have no desire to be praised. And someone praises me, and inside I'm enjoying it. Why? The desire to be God is so strong. When people become wealthy, they keep working. Why do they keep working? Because they're after pride. They're after fame. It's more valuable than money. Isn't it? Keep working, working, working. They have millions of rupees, billions of rupees. Why are they working hard? For fame. It's much more attractive. We're trying to be God. Opulence. Okay, I got the money, but now I need the fame. That's even better. The greatest human need is the need to be recognized. And that's a problem because we want to be Krishna conscious. And we don't want to be in the center. I don't know if I told you this story last time, but I was looking at this book cover. I was looking at this cloth, and it reminded me of a story. And I'll tell the story now because it helps us. It will help us understand this verse. It's a story about how Prabhupada curbed the pride of a devotee. Does anyone know the story about the book cover, the Bhagavatam book cover? Who knows that story? Anybody know? So I'll tell you. Some devotees were sitting in class and they had the Bhagavatam on the floor, and Prabhupada saw it and he said, you shouldn't put the Bhagavatam on the floor. You wouldn't do that in India, but in the early days of the movement in the West, we didn't know anything. We really didn't know anything about culture, so we put the Bhagavatam on the floor. So Prabhupada said, don't put it on the floor. So devotee decided to make a book cover and give it to Prabhupada. So he got some old didi cloth and had some of the Matajis sew a nice book cover. And then he came in to meet Prabhupada during a darshan, and he explains the story, and the thing he explained that's significant for us is that he said that he was feeling proud, that this is like going to be really special. And Prabhupada's going to acknowledge him in front of all the devotees. So I have this present for Prabhupada and I'm going to bring it. And when Prabhupada sees this present, he's going to be so pleased that he's going to glorify me, and then I'll be recognized in front of the devotees. Bhaktisiddhanta said it's an evil desire to manipulate your situation to be recognized in the assembly of Vaishnavas. He said that's evil. Did you know that? He said it's evil. It's an evil desire to do anything to manipulate attention and recognition. So anyway, Prabhupada asked him during the darshan, what do you have in your bag? And he said, oh Prabhupada, I have a present for you. And he gave it to Prabhupada and he said, what is this? Prabhupada said, what is this? And he said, Prabhupada, it's a book cover. You said in class that we should not put our Bhagavatam on the floor, so I made a book cover for you. Prabhupada said, I don't put my Bhagavatam on the floor. You put your Bhagavatam on the floor. I don't put it on the floor. He totally embarrassed him in front of everybody. He said, I don't need this book cover. It's useless. I don't put my Bhagavatam on the floor. So here the devotee's thinking he has the best gift and he'll be praised. And he's embarrassed in front of everyone. Prabhupada did that many, many, many times when devotees became proud. He embarrassed them. He did something to cut them to size. Now the devotee goes on to tell the story that he understood that he was proud, and he understood that Prabhupada understood that he was proud, and he understood that Prabhupada was curbing his pride. He got the message. Now he was in a humble mood. He had another gift for Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, did you bring anything else? It was as if Prabhupada already knew this was going to happen. Do you have anything else? And so now he's in a humble mood. And he says, yes, Prabhupada, I brought you a mango. And now Prabhupada was very pleased. He said, oh, mango, king of fruit. This is the best gift. So he showed that now when you approach the Guru or Krishna humbly, then he's happy. You want to hear another story? Who wants to hear another story? Yes? If you didn't raise your hand, you have to go outside until the story's over. Then you can come back in because you don't want to hear another story. Prabhupada's going to Hawaii. And there's a devotee there who knows that when Prabhupada goes on his morning walks in a new place, Prabhupada always asks questions about what is this, what is that, what is this, what is that. So he thought he'll study everything about Hawaii, and then when Prabhupada asks what is this, what is that, he'll have all the answers, so he'll get recognized. Who knows this story? Anybody? You want to hear the end of the story? Yeah, it's a nice story. Who wants to hear the rest of the story? Good. You're all awake? If you're not awake, raise your hand. So they're on the walk, right? Everything they're walking by, he knows about. This flower, this bush, this building, this statue. Prabhupada points his cane as, what is that? It's the one thing he didn't know that Prabhupada pointed out. He couldn't answer. He turned to him and said, what is that? Prabhupada, I don't know. So did Prabhupada know that this person was proud? We understand that he did, and he was curbing their pride. And Radhananda Maharaj tells a story that Prabhupada was on a morning walk. Maybe it was here, maybe it was in Juhu, and he was with one Indian man. And all these points Prabhupada was making, the Indian man would quote a shloka from Bhagavad Gita to support it. And so Prabhupada was very pleased, and this man was getting recognition. So Radhananda Maharaj describes, he said that I thought, well, I'll chant some shlokas because Prabhupada likes it, and I'll get recognition. So he chanted some shlokas, and Prabhupada said, there's so many shlokas. He just blew him off. Just whatever, so many shlokas. Prabhupada also says this, so many verses are there. He didn't want him to become proud. because he knew. Now he's becoming proud. Now I'll tell you another story. It's not on the topic, but it's an offshoot, but it's a good story. So Prabhupada's on a morning walk. Well, this is a story of Prabhupada helping a devotee become humble. So they're on a morning walk, and Prabhupada points his cane to a bush, and he sees something growing on it. He says, "Is this a fruit or a flower?" And there was a devotee there who knew a lot about botany. And he said, "Oh, that's a flower, Prabhupada." Then they'd walk. Prabhupada would point to another bush. "Is this a fruit or a flower?" Prabhupada said, "Oh, that's a fruit, Prabhupada." They'd walk to another bush, and Prabhupada would point his cane. "Is that a fruit or a flower?" And the devotee said, No, Prabhupada, that's a weed. It's useless." And the Prabhupada pointed his cane and said, "No, you are useless." And he said, "Krishna doesn't create anything that doesn't have a use." He said, everything has a use, and because you don't know the use, you are useless. So Prabhupada was good at putting us in our place. Now, there's something really interesting in this purport. I don't know if you picked up on it, but we have a few minutes. In the beginning of the purport, Prabhupada points out a dichotomy, and the dichotomy is that the demigods are in sattva guna, but sometimes they act in tamaguna. So I was meditating on this about 2 weeks ago. I was in America. I was doing a workshop. And I was thinking that if a neutral person, let's say a professor in America, sociologist for example, we said, "Here is the Bhagavad Gita, I would like you to read it, and then I would like you to describe what is a devotee." So he reads the Bhagavad Gita, he understands it, and then he describes, well, a devotee is one who acts in this way, who has these qualities and characteristics. And then we compare that to ourselves. He just read Bhagavad Gita, he came to the conclusion that this is how a devotee behaves, this is how a devotee walks, talks, and acts. And then we compare that, we grade ourselves. So a devotee is this, a devotee is that, and this, that, and then we grade ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10. How would we do? How would we be doing? Some would be doing better than others, some would be doing pretty bad, right? So then I thought, we should give a class, and I'll let any of you steal this. This can be a workshop. You could even tell Chaitanya Charan to write a book, because I'll probably never write it. It's only an idea. And it's called the 19th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You like that title? It's intriguing, right? The 19th chapter. What's the 19th chapter? The 19th chapter is you and your life. And do the 18th chapters match up to the 19th chapter? So that's the workshop. You come to understand, where do you stand in light of the teachings of the Gita? Is the 19th chapter aligned with the other 18, or is it out of alignment? So the 19th chapter is us. Here's the specimen. 18 chapters describe what is a devotee. Here's the 19th. You. So hopefully it looks good, but it may not. Right? So that's what Prabhupada's saying here. Saying the demigods are supposed to be in sattva guna, but sometimes they don't act in sattva guna. So one of the biggest problems that anyone who's practicing religion or spiritual life faces is being able to exhibit devotional consciousness in their daily interactions 24 hours a day. That's the real challenge. The real challenge is not actually chanting 16 rounds, even following the regulative principles. It's not that difficult. The challenge is ultimately, how are we interacting with everyone 24/7? Are we interacting in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance? So in our forgiveness workshop, we do an exercise. It's very interesting. And it helps devotees look at their life and analyze and write their 19th chapter of the Gita. And that exercise is very revealing, because many devotees realize that what they believe in their head, they don't live it. And just like Indra, he's not acting like Indra. He's acting like an ordinary person. There's a nice story, two nice stories, I don't know if I've told before. One story is that Prabhupada's on an airplane, he's going to South Africa, and there's a rugby team, and this was 1976, and so in those days, they had two sections on the plane, smoking and non-smoking. So if you didn't smoke, you could be in a separate section. So of course Prabhupada was in the non-smoking, and the rugby players were in the non-smoking, but they were smoking. So Prabhupada's servant asked the flight attendant to ask them to stop smoking. And so they stopped smoking, but later on the flight they began smoking again. And then Prabhupada's servant asked him, Prabhupada's servant asked the flight attendant again if he could ask the rugby players to stop smoking, and Prabhupada just turned to him and said, "It's okay, just tolerate it." And then he said something very significant, which I'll tell you the next time I come. Now I have your attention, right? It's very significant, it's very powerful, it's very amazing, it's very incredible. In fact, what I'm going to say could change your life right now. Do you want to hear it? This is how you get people's attention if you're a speaker. Now I have your attention, right? I think I have it. Prabhupada said, if you don't tolerate, what is the difference between you and an ordinary person? So how many times do we act like ordinary people? Too many, right? Isn't it? In our 19th chapter, is it filled with ordinary activities, ordinary interactions, ordinary thoughts, ordinary dealings? I hope not, but often it is, right? If I had a video camera of your life for the last month, 24/7, would you be embarrassed if I put it on the board, or would you be happy to put it on the board and let everyone see? Interesting question to ask, isn't it? If we're actually living in Krishna consciousness, we'd have no problem. Put it on the board, because there's a saying, integrity is what you do when nobody's watching. When you're all alone and you could do anything, you're only Krishna conscious. That's integrity. But if you would feel embarrassed to show the movie of your life on a screen in front of everyone and the deities and Prabhupada, then something needs to be done. Right? Then we're like Indra, who's trying to manipulate and harm Krishna. There's a duality there. So this is the challenge that we face. Krishna consciousness doesn't mean 16 rounds, 4 regs, and I'm good, I can do anything I want. Krishna consciousness means 24 hours a day. Right? So that's an important point that Prabhupada's making here. Very important point. You want to make your life such a way that when I video your activities in the next month and we show in a temple, everyone says, Hari Bol, he's a great devotee. They don't close their eyes and put their hands over their face and go, oh my God, I can't believe he does that. Right? We should not be embarrassed, should we, to have our life on a screen in front of other devotees. And if you're embarrassed, then there's work to do. Right? Yes? So we'll end class here. We have 5 minutes for questions or comments. So if you have any questions or comments, please. Yes? Do we have a microphone?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
The topic was discussed today. The ego, anger, all these things, tolerance. Don't you think, Prabhuji, this is the universal fact from the days of mythology to any history, in any book, in any movies, any literature? It is always discussed and talked. We very fact talk about these issues from the days of God to today, and from our own experiences says this so-called false ego. Can it vanish?
Can the false ego vanish?
And let me continue, Prabhuji. Even in materialistic life,
I have an answer for that.
even in materialistic life and in spiritual life, as you said very correctly, this is my topic. It is every day my thoughts comes. I discuss from few devotees this topic very often. Even one sacrifice, renounce everything, one will feel pride.
Yes.
This is the fact. This is the truth I feel. I don't know. I mean, I'm insignificant. I listen in lecture, we are insignificant. We are nothing. But truth is that can even a single devotee sitting and having Krishna consciousness can say these vibes, this so-called negativity can go away. Let me one more second. Sir.
The answer is yes, yes. But if you're Krishna conscious, yes, yes. And if you're not, no, no. The only way is by mercy.
Even if I'm Krishna conscious, if I come temple, I feel I'm doing better than those who are not coming.
Yes, that's the problem. The people who are the best have the most difficult time being humble. Isn't it? The people who are the best, the people who are the most honest, they have the most integrity, they have the most difficulty being humble because they're better. So only by the mercy of Prabhupada, the mercy of Mahaprabhu, can we deflate our false ego. Not by our own effort. It never will happen. And
don't you think, Prabhuji, having these negativity, one can reach to Krishna consciousness?
What negativity?
These pride.
There's transcendental pride. You'd be proud that you're a devotee of ISKCON. But that's not false ego pride. That's proud that you're proud of Prabhupada and what he gave you, and that you can serve him. And I have such a great spiritual master, and I'm part of such a great movement, and I'm in the association of so many. I'm proud to be in the association of so many wonderful devotees. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name is an offense. So to think that we can't become humble or we can't overcome false ego would be an offense to the holy name, because the holy name can do that. Do you realize that Jagai and Madai were infinitely more sinful and more fallen than any of us, and they became Krishna conscious? You know how fallen they were? They went through the Manu Samhita and they would go through it with a fine-tooth comb to find a sin that they hadn't yet committed. And when they found it, they would go out and commit it. There's nobody that sinful. Is there? Jagai. We have to find some sin we haven't committed. Well, let's get the Manu Samhita and read it to find something. Oh, here's one. We haven't done this. Okay, let's go out and do it. We're not that fallen. And they became Krishna conscious. So we have to have faith in the holy name, the mercy of the holy name, the mercy of Prabhupada, that it's possible. Because Prabhupada said, someday we can see Krishna. That means there's no false ego. That means you realize your Sarup. That's possible. By the mercy, you serve Prabhupada, you give your life to Prabhupada, he can do that. Krishna, by mercy, your mentality can change. That even you come to the temple and you're chanting your rounds and you think, just see, I'm such a great devotee, I'm chanting my rounds in the temple. So many people aren't even here. Even that mentality will become purified. But how will it become purified? Is you have to want it. You have to actually want it. Even if you're proud, still you have to want to become humble. And because you want it, Krishna will give it to you. No matter what your anartha is, if you want to overcome it, Krishna will reciprocate it with you. That's the important point. And so by staying in Krishna consciousness long enough, the desire to become humble someday will manifest in your heart. You'll actually want it genuinely. And at that point, you can overcome your false ego. Because Krishna will then give the mercy to fulfill that desire. Didn't Prabhupada say over and over again, God fulfills all desires? And we're all sitting here thinking, I don't have a mansion down at the beach. I don't have 3 Ferraris and 1 Maserati, if you even know what those cars are. But a Maserati is like $250,000. You could buy an airplane for that price. I thought Krishna fulfills all desires. No. Krishna, look at your life right now. Look where you are. Look at your heart. Look what's in your heart. Whatever's in your heart is because you want it there. You know that pride that you're talking about? It's there because you want it. And by staying in Krishna consciousness, your desire is going to change, and you're going to develop the desire to be humble. And at that day that you develop that desire, Krishna's going to say, I'm going to change your mentality. And even the whole world will come and kiss your feet. You'll think, I'm servant. That's all you'll think. That's possible. Isn't it? I mean, look at Radhanath Swami. He's a perfect example. Right? He has so much honor all over the world. And he only thinks, I'm servant. It's not just reserved for him. That is just a manifestation of Prabhupada's mercy. Once you want it, you get it. So that's the trick. That's what we're dealing with now, is getting the desire. Isn't it? Because if you come in and think, I'm proud because I chant good rounds, that's just Krishna fulfilling your desire, your ego. We're just keeping the ego on the flame, right? We got the flame turned up and the ego's boiling. Isn't it? Hare Krishna, gradually the flame will turn down, 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 down. And one day, we're just going to think, I think I should turn this flame off. And that day we turn it off, Krishna will say, okay, now I can give you the mercy. Now I can really work through you. And that'll come. And we have to have that hope and that faith and that desire. Prabhupada doesn't like it when his disciples become humble or become proud, or his grand disciples become proud. He doesn't like it. He doesn't use us the way he could use us if we become humble. And he will use you, he'll use me, he'll use everyone if we become humble. So we want to come to this point where we see everything in the material world as insignificant, right? Isn't it? Isn't that the goal? Isn't that the symptom of Krishna consciousness? Everything we see is insignificant. I only want Krishna. I want nothing in this world, right? Krishna comes and he pulls you by your sika and he says, let's go. Leave everything here. And you say, I can't leave everything. I can't leave my pride. And Krishna goes, okay, you can't go. No, you have to leave that also. That may be the last thing we'll leave. We'll leave everything else. Okay, I'll leave my collection of books. Krishna goes, good. I'll leave my piano. Krishna goes, good. I'll leave my nice wardrobe, suits and ties. Okay, I'll leave that. And Krishna says, what about your pride? Will you leave that? Have to leave that also to get out, right? Because it's a material attachment, isn't it? So, just a more subtle form of material attachment. So when we become Krishna conscious, we leave it all. And then we come to this point, we don't want recognition, it's not desirable, it's not something we look for, because we're renounced from everything material. We just want to please Krishna. That day will come. It's just another material thing. What did Raghunath Das Goswami say? He says, I bathe in the donkey urine of pride. That's how he experiences pride, like donkey urine. Is that amazing? How do we experience it? Like donkey urine? No. Like rose petals and nectar. Oh, Prabhu, you're so great, you're so wonderful, you're so this and that. That's like a shower of nectar for us, right? And you're saying, no, Prabhu, it's not true. And inside, just relishing every word, right? Like nectar. Oh, no, Prabhu, it's real, don't say that. It's not. I'm just falling. Don't say it, Prabhu. So nice, right? So we want to come to this point, and we hear that we say it's like donkey urine. I hate this. I don't want to hear this. I don't want it. I have nothing to do with this. I don't look for it. It's not. I didn't come to Prabhupada's movement to be honored. I don't think any of us came to this movement to be honored. It's just somehow we get sidetracked after a few years. Because people start honoring us and we go, hey, that's pretty good. I never got this much honor before I was a devotee. You know, it's like you ever sit on a comfortable seat and it's hard to get up. So you get showered with some praise and it's like, hey, this feels good. It's like getting a massage. I really just keep going. It feels really good. So we always have to remember, we didn't come to this movement to be honored. We came to serve. And even if we're honored, we should never forget that. Right? And if you're Krishna conscious, you continue, you'll develop that mentality and you'll overcome false ego. It will happen even to you, even to me, even to anyone here. Because the holy name works, the process works. To not have complete faith in the chanting is an offense. We should have complete faith that the holy name will do this. Only the devotees will become humble. Other people, no. Others, so-called sadhus, they won't become humble. They can't. The false ego is too strong. But the sadhu will become humble. Right? Yes.
Thank you very much for a nice class.
You're welcome.
I have this doubt. You were saying the reality of this Krishna consciousness, that the false pride doesn't go. I wanted to know that we understand this pride is coming, and it's really disturbing our Krishna consciousness. I wanted to know that what is the process that we have to strictly follow
to overcome pride?
Overcome pride, and that process should be that way that under no circumstances pride increases at any level.
So he's asking how we can avoid pride and it won't increase. Why are you here? Why did you come to ISKCON?
I came here just to see to it that my anarthas goes away and I get pure love of Krishna.
You came here to develop love of Krishna. Never forget why you came, and you'll remain humble. When you become proud, always remember what you came for. It's like in America, I think I heard a rumor they're going to bring Walmart to India. Is that true? So if you haven't been to Walmart, Walmart is 10 times or 20 times the size of this temple room. I don't think they have such big stores in India, right? More than 10, maybe 20 times the size, the store. Everything you want is in that store. So you go shopping, sometimes you go to Walmart just to buy a banana, and you can buy a suitcase, you can buy a table, you can buy a tire, you can buy a camera, a computer, you could buy clothes, you can buy a banana, right? So if you're not careful, you go in to buy the banana and you'll come out with 3 new pairs of trousers, 2 shirts, a new camera, an iPhone, because they sell everything, right? So in the same way, you come to Krishna consciousness to develop love of Krishna, but there are so many other things available. If you're not careful, you'll get sidetracked and you'll want to buy those. So when you get sidetracked, always remember why you came, and that will keep you. What's your goal? Is your goal to become proud, or is your goal to become Krishna conscious? Your goal is to become Krishna conscious. Always remember why you came. That will save you. He will always save you. Of course, unless you came to become proud, then that will destroy you. But you came for the right reason.
I fully agree that we came for that purpose.
But
our conditioning is so strong that it goes on coming again and again and again.
Okay, very good question. And he's saying, but the conditioning is so strong. Once a devotee, Prabhupada was told there's a devotee who can't follow the principles because he's weak. And Prabhupada said, why do you give in to weakness? So in other words, the conditioning is there, but don't give in to it. Don't worry about it. It's just conditioning. You are going this way to Krishna. Your conditioning is going this way, right? So you're either going to follow your desire to be Krishna conscious or follow with conditioning. So the conditioning is saying, go with me. You don't have to go. You just ignore it. That's all.
It's very deep-rooted.
Still, ignore it. You don't have to follow it. Don't matter how deep it is, you don't have to follow it. Because your desire is stronger than the conditioning.
But if I'm not so strong then
you'll have to suffer. You either create your reality, or reality will create you. So you have to decide. You will end up in a situation where you want to be, or you'll end up in a situation where you don't want to be. You will create where you want to be, or reality will push you into a situation. Either the modes of nature will force you. What does Krishna say? The modes will force you helplessly, or you will transcend by your willpower, and the process. By your willpower, you execute the process of devotional service, and you remain on the path. And so many things will try to deviate you, just neglect them.
Then what is the fate of a devotee who is not so strong but he wants to remain in devotional life?
The fate is tolerate your anarthas and do the best you can. And never jump off the boat of bhakti. And someday you'll reach the goal. Don't become depressed because you find anarthas. We all have them. Rupa Goswami says, I have no qualification for bhakti. Nothing. Zero qualification. But I have this intense desire to have it. That's a contradiction. I have no qualification, I'm all bad, and I have an intense desire. So that's what you're saying. How can I have an intense desire if I find bad things in me? You can. Be full of anarthas and have an intense desire for Krishna consciousness. You see these men here in white, they're all new devotees. They haven't been devotees that long. They're probably the most enthusiastic devotees in the temple. And they're the new devotees, right? So theoretically, from the textbook point of view, they should have more anarthas than the older brahmacharis, and they're more enthusiastic. How is that possible? Because we're all thinking if you have anarthas, you can't be enthusiastic. They have more anarthas than anybody, and they're more enthusiastic. Because they have a strong desire, because they're coming out of the material world. They've been burnt by it. So now their desire is very strong. So you can have all kinds of anarthas and a strong desire to be Krishna conscious at the same time. Isn't that amazing? Did you know that? It's possible. That's called ashabandha, hope against hope. So Rupa Goswami says, I have this desire to be Krishna conscious, and I have no qualification for it. But I can't give up the desire even though I'm not qualified. That's it. So your desire to be Krishna conscious is all important. Your anarthas are not that important. They'll go away. What's important is don't focus on what you don't want. Focus on what you do want. Everyone's, I'm so fallen, I'm so this, I'm so that. And how do you feel after you focus on I'm so this and that? You feel worse. You feel more of that, right? Isn't it? Well, why do you want to focus on what you don't want? I don't want to be proud. Then I'm focused on my pride. Focus on humility. Focus on what you want. I want to love Krishna. Krishna, somehow or other, give me love. Guru Maharaj, give me love. Prabhupada, give me love. That's what I want. Focus on what you want. You can't succeed if you don't focus on what you want. The biggest mistake you could make is to focus on what you don't want. I'm so fallen, I'm so this, I'm so that. Now what are you thinking about? Everything you don't want. You say, but Prabhu, Bhaktivedanta Thakur focuses on how he's fallen. He's not focused on himself, he's focused on Krishna. When we focus on fallen, we're focused on ourselves. I'm so miserable, I'm so this. It's all selfishness, isn't it? When Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, I'm the most fallen, I'm this and that, he's focused on Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, give me, I want you, I'm separated from you, I need you, I want you. That's what he's focused on. We focus on, I'm so this, I'm so that, and then it's just become depressed, and we're just focused on our miserable condition in this world. That's the difference. So focus on the very thing you said. You came to Krishna consciousness to get love. Focus on that. These anarthas come. Don't give them energy. They'll go away. Don't give them, like we say in America, I wouldn't give him the time of day. You don't like somebody? You say, I ignore them. I won't even give him the time of day. He asks, what time is it, Prabhu? Get away. I won't give you the time of day. So the anarthas come up and say, hello, I'm here. It's time to go do something. You go, you just love of Krishna. Just want love of Krishna. That's where your focus goes. And if you keep saying, but what if my desire is not strong? All Prabhupada would say is, then make it strong. That's all he would say. That would be his answer. There is no other answer. What if my desire is not strong? What's the answer? Okay, then go to hell if that's what you want. I mean, what's the answer? Make it strong. What if it's not strong? Make it strong. What if I'm not sincere? Be sincere. That's the answer. You have a choice. Your conditioning is not ruling your life unless you let it rule your life. And we're letting our conditioning rule our life. And we're saying, but, I'm weak, I'm weak, I'm weak. Then stop being weak. Take control. You are above your mind. You can control it. Sri Sri Radha Gopinath ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. Thank you for tolerating me. Hare Krishna.